open the meeting of the Bylaw Review Committee.
I'll make that motion.
Let me just check, John, with Nick to make sure that he's all set.
Yeah, we're good. I hit record so you guys can be on your way.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Okay, sorry, John.
Okay, do we need a second from, I need a second from that motion to open?
I'll second.
Okay. I put all in favor. I don't know if we need a roll call.
We will need a roll call, yes.
So I'll start with myself, John Howcroft, present.
Pam Labonte, present.
Jim Merritt, aye.
Joe, present. Sorry to jump on you, Jim. Go ahead.
No problem.
We're all here.
Jim Merritt, aye.
Julie Hebert, present.
Okay. Mark, did we hear from you?
Yeah, I started it off, John. That's okay.
Okay. I believe that we have a quorum, so we can proceed. The first article of business is the article on the office opening and of the town clerk's office.
Yeah, Julie, did you get, this was an article that I actually am presenting for town meeting. And essentially what this article is going to do is allow the office to remain closed on Saturdays. Now, this has never really been an issue before. We moved elections, annual town elections to Saturdays. So what's happening is the majority of the voter registration deadlines, nomination papers deadline is ending up on Saturdays. What this would do is bounce it to the next succeeding deadline. And excuse me for just a minute. Oh, okay. All right. Sorry about that. It would move to the next succeeding day, so next business day, so it would be on a Monday. The reason for this is a couple of things. First off, the traffic coming into the office really is not there to state that we should be here from 8 to 8 on a Saturday. I've used it as an opportunity to get caught up with different things, but it's not, it's really not a high traffic day. I am available every Tuesday night until 7 p.m. And voter registrations absolutely have the ability to come in the office, do it by mail, register at the Registry of Motor Vehicles, at the Council on Aging. Now, if you sign up for health insurance, you can now register to vote. So I think what this is going to allow, that if there's an opportunity where we have a large election, let's say a presidential election, and the voter turnout is expected to be high, we can certainly open on a Saturday, but this would give us that flexibility.
Question that in that one is that prior to, elections, both state and federal, that there's a high, used to be a high amount of voter activity, people with absentee ballots, last minute registrations and so forth.
Yeah.
If your office is, the office is not yours, the office is closed, that business cannot be transacted. Is that correct?
No, that's not true. With the early voting would still be held on the Saturdays. That would not take that opportunity for individuals to vote away from them.
Now, will they be able to register on that day too?
I'm sorry, what was that?
same day registration, they would be able to register as well on that day.
On the Saturday?
Yes, Saturday before a federal or state election.
Oh, no, that would not, we would still follow the same guidelines that we do now.
Okay.
We would close at Friday at 5 o'clock, which would also be the cutoff for absentee ballots or early voting ballots. So that's not changing anything. The only thing it is changing is for our annual town election. So state and federal, those, that requires the Saturday, then the office would be open. This would only be for the local.
So this would just follow state and federal. This would just, like you say, local, state and federal would be, that is what state and federal means.
Yes. So it would, the town would be following the state and federal guidelines.
Okay, shouldn't the it be read that, that it will be, except for maybe state and federal elections or something like that? Because the bylaw would basically say you're not going to be open, but it does not give you what you're stating as far as being open for federal and state election activity, including, absentee balloting and voter registration. That's what alarms me when I saw that, that article,
Yeah, and actually I did send an email to Julie a little bit earlier today because I spoke with the AG's office about this to see if it should be classified as a bylaw versus us just adopting the Chapter 41, Section 110A. And the reason for that is it does not state in the law that we would be open the next succeeding day, business day, which if it would in this case be a Monday. And I think it's important that we put that verbiage in there. I don't know if you've had a chance to speak with town council, Julie, on that or get a response. I know it was just earlier today.
I don't have a response yet, but I will let you know as soon as I do.
Okay. So this just authorizes us to remain closed. That does not mean we have to stay closed. It just gives us the opportunity. So like I told Julie today, I've been the individual to work the 8 to 8. But if I have to pay someone to sit here, a registrar, if I'm unable to do it, I'm paying a registrar to sit here, and essentially the traffic does not warrant. Not once did I have someone come in and register on a Saturday that I was here.
The cost, as far as when it comes to voting, the cost of voting is probably the highest priority, of your office. So therefore, if you have to pay a register, you just pay them. You know what I'm saying? That should not be an obstacle in any way as far as voting rights.
And I think at this point, it's a matter of, is the availability there? Until we change this until we change town meeting and the election to May, that's the only time that this has come into play. When we had our elections on Mondays, we were never open on Saturdays. So we're still following the same guidelines that we did before.
Right. Okay, as long as we don't have any type of hindrance of people registering to vote or basically casting an absentee ballot, especially working people who have no sometimes people who commute have no opportunity, during the workday, to transact voting business, but on a Saturday, and we should basically protect their voting rights. And if you assure me, that I mean, personally, but sure, those assurances are made, that there's no impediment, to them exercising their right, and, then that should be stated in the record. We
Yeah,
just proceed with-
Absolutely not. I can say that here in the town of Acushnet, we offer much more flexibility than many other communities, with our availability of my office being open every Tuesday evening.
Yes.
That's something many of the other communities, if they're open, they may be open one Monday a month, or 2 Mondays a month, and it might only be until 6 o'clock. And I always tell anyone that if they need me to stay later, I'm certainly not opposed to that at all. I'm always available.
I understand that, but I'm basically concerned about this Saturday, that any particular Saturday where you are, where, they're not being able to exercise their right to vote, by
But
absence.
that would have
Yes.
nothing to do with it, because it wouldn't be for voting. Oh,
Huh?
I'm sorry, John. It wouldn't be for voting. This is for voter registration
Right,
only. And this is nothing, the only reason that this is coming up is because we changed town meeting and the election to the new May dates, and now the election is being held on a Saturday. So for instance, for the Saturday elections, for the annual town election, we will always be open on Saturday.
right.
But it also creates an inconsistency for the residents and the voters, that if they show up here on a Saturday one week and we're here and we're not here the next week. And I know with Selectman Wona, that consistency was very important. And that was one of the reasons why he changed our hours back to the 8 to 4 Monday through Friday. I kept the later hours on Tuesday evenings for my office, but I think that consistency is key. Because of course, if someone comes in on a Saturday and they want a birth certificate, I'm not going to turn them away. So now it becomes an issue of, well, I went there 2 weeks ago and somebody was there, and now there's no one there.
But
That causes confusion.
Yeah, but I'm getting to the point. Can they, register to vote or vote by absentee on that Saturday prior to a general election? which is
No,
held?
no, the deadline would still, the deadline for a general election would still be Friday at 5 p.m. This would not affect that at all.
Okay, and you're going to have same day voting on that Saturday morning anyway, or that Saturday, or that closes on Friday.
That closes on that Saturday, but we would still have that. If that is the federal, we would have that. I'm talking about the local.
Yeah, I'm talking about the federal more than anything else.
Right, the federal, if we are required to stay open on a Saturday for early voting, this office would be open on a Saturday. Absolutely. It would not be shut down.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Just one question, how soon are applications for absentee ballots available before an election? How many weeks before?
The application or the ballots?
Well, the application ballot, yeah, the ballot.
The ballots are, well, as soon as I get them from the vendor. As a matter of fact, for the May 15th election, they were just shipped today and I should have them tomorrow. So those absentee ballots should be
So
available.
you're looking about 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks, so you have 3 weeks to vote, plus you're open on Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't figure something out in those 3 weeks, that absentee, come to John's, thing, I would think there's enough flexibility for people to get an absentee ballot to vote.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And we mail them out to residents and voters all the time.
The point is, Saturday is for work. A lot of working people is their only option to do a lot of things.
Yeah, they got Tuesday night.
Right.
Too, so, that's the thing.
Oh, I think you cut out, John.
Yeah, I am.
Oh,
You go. So
If I may, I mean, I've witnessed firsthand the effort that Pam puts out from her office to accommodate the needs of all the residents of the community. I don't think this has any negative impact on any resident within the community, and I would vote to approve as written.
I'll second,
do I hear the,
I'll second it.
okay. Shall we vote by roll call? Okay, yes,
I'm a
Mark
yes.
Federizio- Mark Federizio, yes.
Pam
Jim
Levon.
Merritt, yes.
Mike Chopper, yes.
Julie Hebert, yes.
Pam is a yes.
vote was unanimously carried for that.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one, I think on the agenda, I don't have a, would be the,
Bye, Pat. Thank you for joining.
My pleasure.
stormwater management is that the stormwater management bylaw
Correct.
for the next one? Any explanation of who, anybody who filed it, of why the changes?
Do you want me to do that, Julie?
Yeah, go ahead, Pat. Thank you.
Okay. So the reason for the change is the original bylaw that was adopted requires that people doing projects in Acushnet have to apply for a stormwater management permit if they're disturbing 5,000 square feet or more. And 5,000 square feet is just about every project that goes on in the town of Acushnet. So that's a big burden for the town to handle and for the person doing the projects to spend that money. So most other towns have between 40,000 square feet and an acre to be the trigger of when you need to apply for the stormwater management permit. And that's the reason for the change, is to be consistent and make it apply to projects that really matter, not somebody changing their driveway or building a single family house.
Was there a number you had on that, Pat?
40,000 square feet is
Thank
where
you.
we landed. Yep.
That's almost,
3 and 4 on this here, you went to 10,000. Is that for just repaving driveways and alterations to existing properties?
Yes. And
Question I
Mary Lee's
would-
looked at it.
One second.
Mary Lee's the stormwater agent.
Excuse me, one at a time. I'm accustomed not running a meeting, but being an advocate on, with the finance committee. Anybody else have any comments or questions?
No, Pat's run this good. I think we should adopt this
I
as
have one
written.
question. One question, professional, this increase, does it defeat the purpose of having the stormwater protection to begin with? In other words, it's a drastic increase. I mean, it's almost an acre of, does it negate what the real reason why we have that is to protect, the groundwater protection?
It
You
does
can
not.
answer that, Pat.
Okay.
Can I phase that?
Do you want to take it, Mary Lee? I see you lighting up.
Well, I think it, like Pat said, it takes out the smaller projects that nobody else is, that don't have a huge impact on stormwater. So it goes to just the ones that will actually have quite an impact.
And if I could, there were some items that weren't changed. One of the requirements in the bylaw is that if you're moving a stone wall or changing a stone wall by more than 12 feet, you still need to apply for the permit. So things that are sensitive to redirecting stormwater that could have an effect on groundwater were left in there. But to keep it at 5,000 square feet, there's not that kind of an impact to justify the amount of work that the town would go through and the cost to the developer or the homeowner. It was really an unfair criteria.
Very good.
I guess
this
my
is
only
me.
question is, in some areas, Pat, I mean, do you really want people to be able to clear cut their lots to build a single family home without having to file any kind of a permit?
I believe it doesn't say any kind of a permit, Jim. It's a stormwater management permit under the bylaw, and there's some heavy lifting to that. Having a stormwater management plan developed by a professional engineer with stormwater calculations, groundwater, all of that stuff is a very heavy lift. It has to be peer reviewed under the bylaw. Everything has to be reviewed by an engineer. That's another expense for the proponent. And quite frankly, there haven't been a lot of permits issued. And it would cause a lot of problems for basically every permit you would issue, Jim, would require the Stormwater Review Board to meet, request all this information, hold a public hearing, and go through peer review. It's an unreasonable burden.
And probably not applied, I mean, it's not being applied for anyway to begin with.
It has not been.
Right.
And that was one of the reasons to change it, is so that it gets applied in the right instances at the right
Very
times.
good. Are there any more questions? Do I hear a motion to accept this bylaw change?
I'll make that motion.
Do I hear a second?
I,
Do I hear a second?
Oh, second.
I was almost going to rule that it died because of the lack of a second.
Don't do that.
Okay. We'll go by roll call. John Howcroft, yes.
Mark
Yep.
Rizzo, yes.
Pam Labonte,
Mike Chopper, yes.
Julie Hebert, yes.
Oh, we need Jim. Where's Jim?
Left.
Oh, no. Oh, he's got a customer. We need him.
I really go across the way and yell at him and tell him, say yes and come back.
Yeah, hold on. Let me go tell him.
The main office for the selectmen through that door. Yeah, and go to the main meeting room.
Karen runs the office. You can probably call him anytime. Anytime? Yep. All right, thank you. I know, I gotta run the office. Sorry. Yeah, I get it. I just don't know what else. All right, folks, I'm back. I'm in the office all alone, so I can't turn people away.
Jim, that was a good choice of shirts today, by the way.
We just hear your vote. What was his vote? Jim?
My vote would be to approve.
Okay.
Thank
It passed unanimously. Okay. Now, the floodplain was pulled, Pam?
No,
No.
that one was not.
Okay, all right. We have Appendix B, the floodplain district boundaries on the table. Those who presented it, or can give us some information of why, it's been put in, why the changes.
Is this Marilee or Jim?
Which one is it? I'm sorry.
Floodplain overlay district. That's not you, Pat, is it?
No,
I think it's
No, that's,
him or Merrily, whichever one.
yeah, that is to put in the right dates and panels for the flood maps so that we can stay on the National Flood Insurance Program by FEMA.
Marilee, there is a lot more verbiage in this bylaw than there was previously.
Yeah, Pam, we're actually regulated by FEMA. And yeah, I mean, in past years, Dave DeVignan actually tossed out a lot of the verbiage that was there. I mean, Marilee and I have been working quite closely with Eric Carlson, who's actually the FEMA person for our district. We've gone over this a number of times. He's providing the wording and he's telling us if we don't have the wording in, the feds will revoke our ability to have insurance in a storm event. We don't want to risk that to the community. It means too much. This has to do with personal property and infrastructure in the event that we have some kind of natural catastrophic event that FEMA would cover. If we don't have all this verbiage in place, we lose all of that. And there's just no reason to have to worry about that.
Did I read in here that a homeowner has the opportunity to opt out?
Yes.
Not that their insurance company would approve, I'm quite sure, but okay, but a homeowner can opt out. Okay, thank you.
Well, one time that they would have that you must have insurance by the feds, and if you had received any type of payment for flood damage or storm damage, other damages, you know, with FEMA, if you didn't have the insurance, they wouldn't pay a second time. I don't know if that's still in operation.
If you opt out, and you get nothing from the feds. So it's strictly on your own.
Right, as long as people are quite clear to, you know, that, you know, sometimes they know that. But thank you for Jim, for your attention on that, but it's.
There are some people too, John, who have the ability to get their property surveyed and apply for a revision of map to take their property out by simply asking for an elevation certificate on the elevation of their foundation. Those people may not be required to have federal flood insurance if they can prove through that map or letter of map revision. They may not have to pay the premium that FEMA requires, but we want to make sure that FEMA is going to cover all of those in town who, you know, are subject and who do have maybe problem areas or whatever the case may be.
Does that apply to a federally declared disaster? You know.
Yes.
Thank you. I don't know if any other questions from. Okay.
Do we have to hold a meeting on this or a public meeting?
Yes, this is one that the planning board will have to hold a meeting on.
Okay, it's still 2 weeks before town meeting or 2 weeks notice before we have the meeting, is that correct?
That's correct, before the planning board has the meeting, correct.
I think we can work with Jen on that. You can work with Jen on that as far as putting the ad together,
Sure will.
or you want Marilee to do it?
If Marilee's willing to take it on, I'd love that assistance.
I'd be
What do you
happy
think?
to.
Thank you
Okay.
so much, Marilee. I appreciate it.
You can work with Jen on that as far as the ads and stuff, Marilee.
Okey doke.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a huge help for me, so thank you.
Your motion to accept the floodplain district boundaries and flood plan.
I'll make that motion, John.
Requirements. Thank you.
I'll second it.
Okay. We hear roll call. John Howcroft, yes.
Pam Labonte, yes.
Marks and
Jim
review,
Merritt,
yes.
yes.
Julie Hebert, yes.
Who am I missing?
So
Oh, John, sorry, I got you. Okay.
passage of that floodplain, district boundaries and floodplain requirements, unanimous. I think the next one would be the soil conservation. They didn't pull that one, right?
No, they did not.
Okay. Motion to accept for discussion purposes, so
Which one is this now?
the soil conservation, the town of Acushnet.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, I don't need a roll call. All in favor of, of opening it for discussion?
Aye.
I,
All right. Any discussion? And
Am I completely missing?
You want me
that?
to discuss this, Julie? or-
or explanation?
Yeah. I think
I think Pat can explain that better than anyone else.
Yep, I have the document on another screen if you want me to share the document, or you want me to just talk about it?
I think you can just talk about it, Pat.
Okay. So the soil conservation bylaw for the town was vague, ambiguous, outdated, and very circular. It was very hard to enforce. And it needed to be updated. And based on what we've learned trying to enforce at Keating and the other gravel pit in town at Pico Stone, it brought about the changes that needed to be made to this. So the first, do you want to know what the changes are, or just want to know why?
I
Sure.
think we have it in front of us, Pat, so.
Okay, so that's why.
Very good. Time we get quality and brevity. Okay. Any other questions? Any questions? Okay. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote to accept.
Pam Labonte,
Oh, John Howcroft, yes. Go ahead.
Mike Chopley,
Julie Hebert, yes.
Jim Merritt, yes.
Mark Sunrizio, yes.
Okay, is that it? Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
I don't know if that required a motion to approve in the second before you took your vote.
I thought we made it originally when we asked for acceptance of, okay. I erred in a sense because I did ask for a motion to all, to discuss.
yeah, I think I jumped ahead on that one. I'm sorry.
I just,
Trying to take notes at the same time.
I hear a motion to accept, this bylaw change. The soil conservation for the town of Acushnet.
So
I'll
moved.
move that motion.
Okay, second has been properly seconded. All in favor, roll call, John Howcroft.
Pam Labonte,
Mike Chopley. Yes.
Mark
Jim Merritt,
Sunrizio.
aye.
Julie Hebert, yes.
All right, I declare that that was, the bylaw change has been made unanimously.
no, we still have more.
Oh, is that it? If the groundwater has been Appendix D, if groundwater protection, that was the one that was pulled, correct?
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay. Evidently, is there any other business before this board?
Yes, we have a few more bylaws. I just didn't put the appendix in for those.
Okay,
These are bylaw changes that Jim is proposing. So Jim, I don't know if you want to speak on the one for
I can
3.3.
speak on them as I have them on the list, Pam, sure.
Okay.
Over the past number of years, we've had a number of controversial issues relative to common driveways and the wording of the bylaw in reference to the distance that the common driveway or the regular driveway needs to be located from the structures. So in going over this, first with Henry and then with, some of the members of the Board of Selectmen and looking at some of the projects that have actually come forward, we've come to the conclusion that it would be best to change the bylaw from 150 to 75 feet, so that we would add section A to include subsection numbers 1 through 8 and change the wording of A to read, no common driveway shall be constructed within 75 feet of any principal or accessory structure existing or to be served thereby. This just creates a better distance between existing dwellings or newly to be constructed new dwellings off a common driveway. And I think it's warranted. I mean, the setbacks from property lines on retreat lots, which is where the common driveway comes into play, is 75 feet anyways. A number of years ago, Henry took out section 9, which made the change, and I think that the area that we were concerned about here was that people were reading common driveways and driveways the same thing. So I think it's important to replace section 9 as it was originally written to say all principal and accessory structures shall be serviced by a driveway that is located within 150 feet of those structures, and which driveway must meet the minimum construction standards here and specified. So that just says that we have standards for a driveway. That driveway must be constructed so that emergency personnel and services can be met within 150 feet of that building, which really has never been the case, but I think it's important that that wording be in there.
Very good. Any questions of Jim on this?
I
Make a
have no
motion to-
questions, but I can answer any questions that people might have.
No, I'm asking the, yes, Jim. I'm asking the participants.
I don't have any.
Motion to accept was read.
Do I hear a
Second,
sec- Do I hear a second to Mark's motion to
I second
accept? Beg your pardon. I'm tuning out, that's why.
We need a second.
I
I'll
second,
second.
Mike seconded it.
Okay, thanks,
Okay.
Mike.
Roll call vote. John Howcroft, yes.
Pam Labonte, yes.
Mike Chopper, yes.
Jim Merritt, yes.
Mark Centerizio, yes.
Julie Hebert, yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Any other bylaws? 'Cause I don't
Yeah,
have
the next
agenda.
one I have, Mr. Chairman, is kind of an add-on to where people store outside materials and other junk. We already have a junk bylaw. But I found that, it's a little ambiguous to where people can store their surplus materials, I guess is the best way to say it. So I'd like to add to the zoning article to section 3.3.1 and 3.3.2 and to 3.3.4, the following. No material or supplies shall be stored or permitted to remain on any portion of a property outside of the building constructed thereon. Any finished products or semi-finished products stored on the property outside of the building shall be confined to the rear half of the property and shall be appropriately screened on all sides, but shall in no instance be placed on that side of a building paralleling an existing or proposed street. No waste material or refuse shall be dumped upon or permitted to remain upon any part of said property outside of a building constructed hereon. And I think that's important. One of the constant complaints I have is people storing, their refuse in the front yard or anywhere on the lot that's clearly visible to their neighbors or to the street. And particularly, I get a lot of comments about, the South Main Street property that's been used as a salvage yard. We've been trying to deal with them for a number of years, and this would force them to fence that property.
So in essence, what that means is they have to cover everything up.
Basically, yes, Mark.
Okay.
All right, and John, Jim, the question, what's the penalty and how are you gonna police it? I mean, obviously can't do it too good now, and is there a fine or what's the outcome?
Well, the fine, Mike, would still be under non-criminal disposition, which the bylaws give me the authority over any of the existing zoning laws. Of course, the problem I have right now, especially including people who are close to you, is that the courts right now are closed or have been closed. And even though we send enforcement out, the orders aren't coming back from the courts, so we're not even having public hearings yet. I'm hoping that that will change, but you know, as regards to other projects, I've actually looked for, you know, the help from the Board of Selectmen to see if I can, you know, get a letter written by an attorney or our attorneys to, you know, probably put a little bit more oomph in the enforcement. But I'm looking for any tool that I can have, you know, to get people to abide and get their junk out of view. I just
Right.
think the town's worth that.
Because I know in the past, we've dealt with it, and I know you've been to court and the judge gives them an extra 30 days or an extra 90 days and waives the fines. I mean, you know, is there any, I know you can't control that, but is that still going on?
Well, yeah, that has gone on in the past, but like I say, the courts really since COVID, they've been closed down for the past year.
Yeah.
So, you know, my enforcement's been limited.
Mhm.
I think at this point in time, I would probably look at taking them to housing court, which seems to have a little bit better response. And I probably would need town council's help to start that.
Correct.
Hey, Jim,
Yes?
anything that's solid waste related, you could refer to the Board of Health.
Yeah, I mean, Joe and I have gone about that a number of different ways, so we've had reasonably good luck, but there are some people who are just so doggone stubborn. You know, it's like they don't recognize the fact that they have.
That's stuff.
I know a persistent guy at the Board of Health, so I'm just letting you know.
Okay, thanks.
Julie, has it been discussed for a bulky item pickup? Have they made a decision on that?
They talked about it at one of their most recent meetings. They do have dates that are being planned in May. When we have more information, we'll get it out, but they are looking to try to do it this May.
Okay.
Mhm.
'Cause
Tyler?
that may be helpful to some property owners that are trying to get rid of some items.
I agree.
But I think this is a great idea, Jim, and I commend you for putting it forth.
Absolutely.
You and I talked about a specific property yesterday that's out on, you know, Main Street, and that particular property is only getting increasingly worse. Even though you instructed and had them put up a fence, they're still, it's now across, you know, part of the front lawn, so.
Yes.
Need make a motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second,
Okay, John Howcroft, yes.
Pam, yes.
Mike, yes.
Mark,
Jim,
yes.
yes.
Julie, yes.
You there, John?
Yes, I just came back, so if there's any
Okay.
hesitation, it's not me getting afternoon naps, it's,
That's all. Didn't want you to fall off your chair.
all right. So it's my computer, so if I go off, it's that, so, okay, I rule that, you know, not, that this bylaw is passed unanimously, this bylaw changed unanimously, and, okay, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I have another one, John. One that I've been trying to work out for a number of years. And one of the reasons I'm doing this one is, I should say, it has to do with what I call an upland circle. It's a bylaw that communities have had surrounding us for a number of years. And it works really well. As land becomes more scarce and more controversial, you know, because most of the land that's being developed now has substantial amount of wetlands on it. And my feeling is, and has been for a long time, that if you can't produce a sizable amount of upland in the front of your property, you're really restricting the use of that land and developing property that is very detrimental to wetlands. I think that we have some cases along Labonte Street, which is a new road that was constructed similar to that problem. And, you know, I took some pictures, and there's a number of other parcels that are very similar to that. They're very limited in size. They have, you know, direct wetland or a brook running directly behind them. And the property and the water table are so close to the surface that people are actually putting their foundations on grade, having to build up to them, which means all the runoff and everything that leaves these sites just will run right into the wetland or right into the brook or however. And I think it's important to apply, you know, some marriage or some message or some method by which you can constructively regulate a good developable lot so that people have no wetland in the front of their lot where their home's going to be built. It doesn't say you have to build there, and the district that I'm trying this in at first is in the residential village district. There's still a lot of wetland area that, you know, is potentially developable on existing streets or on paper streets. And I just think it's important to apply this now.
You have the bylaw change or the verbiage written.
Yeah, the way it's read, it says, you know, you would add section 3.3.E6 upland circle. No dwelling, building, or structure having permitted use in any district shall be erected on a lot unless the lot has an area within its bounds which encompasses an upland circle with a minimum diameter equal to 90% of the required frontage, and within which the frontage or a distance equal to the frontage at the front yard setback line must pass.
Explain that to me in English.
It basically means, Mark, that rather than, you know, like our bylaw right now has, you have a minimum of a rectangle 100 by 80 feet
Yep.
in this district.
Correct.
But it has no regulation relative to wetland. And the lots, particularly on Labonte Street, are loaded with wetlands in that district, which means they have to file, of course, with Concom, but you know, it's Concom. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's 90% of the frontage, so if the frontage is 100 feet, they have to have 90 feet.
You have to have a circle with a diameter of 90 feet.
From the middle of or the front section of the lot. I'm just trying to picture it.
Yeah,
Jim.
either the front of the lot or the front setback line at 25 feet would have to touch that circle.
Okay. I understand. But that, these people also have water and storage, correct? These particular.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Jim, am I correct in saying that we had an issue with that out on Quaker Lane going back a few years ago also?
Pam, I can actually list a number of areas that, you know, I would like to see this applied over the RA district, any residential district itself. But right now, you know, the RA district, I eliminated it for whatever reason. Henry never brought it forth for me. But, you know, like if we look at the Deep Brook subdivision, there were a lot of waivers that they asked the planning board for. I'm sure Mark remembers that. And this would have constructively eliminated 2 of those lots and have made that subdivision much more amenable to proper development. And I think it's critical. But more importantly, here in the community where the lots are much smaller, I think we need to take a better look at, you know, how and what our impact is to wetland and the biodiversity that we're losing through climate change, whether you believe in climate change or not.
I believe, I'm just, the initial act on this one was if you were in the village area and you had 10,000 or 12,000 square feet and 100-foot frontage, you could build a lot. Am I correct?
Yes,
So now the other one changed to 100 feet to, you have to have a square 100 feet frontage to 80 feet back, correct?
well, yeah, this changes that. What this does, Mark, is it takes out the 100 by 80 rectangle and puts the circle in its place.
Okay. Is it just gonna restrict them more? I thought that was the Labonte Street one that just, I mean, they put a road in. Is that the one with the 3 house lots on it?
Yes,
Yep.
And let me just say that has nothing to do with me. I have no idea. It was not named after my family.
Thank you for that disclaimer.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, it's, we know it's wet. We know it's near the PJ Keating. They got a lot of ledge there, but I think the kid did a good job on it. I just hope you feel the same way, or you didn't like it, Jim? 'Cause we're
well, I
gonna-
think initially that the kid who put the road in did a reasonably good
Yep.
job. But if you go back there and look at the way they're building the houses now, and I actually have a lot of respect for the contractor, but the owner who's having the houses built, there's a very small area by which these houses have to be built, and they're built basically on the same grade level as the street. So now all the grading there's a lot of fill that has to come in, and everything's going to run off these houses right to a brook that runs right behind the back of the lots. And, even though there was, they had to make a filing with the Concom, I think it just puts a lot of burden on the Concom. I guess I just maybe feel a little differently than a lot of people, but I think that, this is something the town is warranted to have, to help as a constructive tool, to keep very marginal land from being developed.
Any other question? Oh, go ahead.
Nope, I'm fine. I'll come in and sit and talk to you, show it to me on paper. I'm a little slow today.
Yeah, I think that's the easiest way to do it, Mark. It really is. It's kind of hard to explain.
Nope, I'll be in. I understand completely. And you're the zoning enforcement officer. You're the one who has to take all the crap from everybody all the time.
Do I hear a motion to accept this bylaw change as presented?
I'll make the motion that we accept the bylaw change as presented.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call vote. John Howcroft, yes.
Pam, yes.
Mike, yes.
Mark, yes.
Julie, yes.
Jim, yes. Marilee? Marilee
I'm not
gone?
on the committee.
Oh,
All right.
What about Julie?
I'm a yes.
Yes.
Julie, I want to speak to you after the meeting, by the way, but anyway, before we close, after we adjourn. Okay, I rule that this bylaw change as presented has been passed unanimously.
Can I have 2 more, John?
Okay, go ahead.
On the first one's quite quick. I think it's improper for us to have the ability by special permit to have a light manufacturing plant constructed in the residential district. I don't think there's anybody in town, especially Pam, who would like to have a manufacturing plant constructed right next to her house. I just don't think it's appropriate for our zoning to have that. I'm suggesting it be eliminated.
Any
I would
questions?
agree to that.
What was that, 3.3.1?
Yes.
Just what that bylaw states?
Yeah, by special permit, light manufacturing. That's basically all it says.
Is there a definition of light manufacturing, by the way, somewhere in
There
the?
is in 1.2, John,
Correct, okay.
and I can read it to you if you want.
No, I just want to know, it's been defined, so we don't get into any legal questions in the future.
I'll take you the reading, Jim, if you got, is it short?
Yeah. Light manufacturing is a use located on a parcel meeting all the requirements for that zone, which involves the processing, assembly, or the packaging of previously prepared or finished materials without the use of heavy machinery, completely housed within a structure of less than 10,000 square feet, which employs 10 or fewer people, having a capital investment of no more than $1 million, and produces no discernible disturbing agents beyond the property lines.
Good enough
So
for
it's still allowed in the commercial district, still allowed in the industrial district. I just don't think it's appropriate in the residential.
No. Okay. Any more questions? Your motion to accept this bylaw as presented,
Motion to accept.
okay? There a second?
Second,
Okay, roll call vote. John Howcroft, yes.
Pam Labonte, yes.
Mike, yes.
Mark, yes.
Jim, yes.
Julie, yes.
Merrily, is she there?
She's not on the committee, she says, John.
Okay. I rule that this bylaw as presented, or bylaw change as presented is passed unanimously. Jim, go ahead.
And the last one I have, John, really is to re-add in definitions 1.2, there's a definition street or way. And years ago, Henry and I had talked about eliminating the wording of the requirement of having a certain width and a certain pavement width of 22 feet and road layout width of 30 feet. We kind of felt that really fell under the jurisdiction of the planning board to make that determination when people brought petitions in front of them. So in 2015, that wording, which was the last sentence of the bylaw, was eliminated. Recently, the individuals think that it actually should be back in. So that's the reason the law is back in there.
We're here.
Yeah.
Go
How
ahead.
did,
Go ahead.
how did they come up with 22 feet? Because I know for the fire chief, he requires an access road of 20 per the regulations. So do you know where 22 feet came from?
No, it's just been there for a long time, Pam. It's, I'll read to you exactly.
It's like an accepted subdivision road, Jim, correct? 50-foot layout, 22 feet of hot top.
Right. Yeah, the last sentence of that area of the wording basically says street or way, land abutting thereon served thereby and for the installation of municipal services to serve such land and the building erected or to be erected thereon having a minimum pavement width of 22 feet and a minimum layout width of 30 feet. You know, by definition, that puts that structure in the zoning bylaw and takes the flexibility of the planning board away from making those determinations. I didn't, you know, I thought it was appropriate to take it out, but in all honesty, I think the Board of Selectmen didn't feel that way.
I have a question, Jim.
Yes,
So will this now require all roads and ways to be paved?
as street or way.
A street or way?
yes.
Yeah, to be paved.
Yeah,
Yep.
Public and private.
street or way says public or private as shown on a plan.
That's why I asked, Mark.
I understand.
And Pam, the fire chief came out with some new guidance on his access roads, and I'll send you over the memo.
Actually, I did get it.
Okay, because he went
right.
down to 14 feet from 20.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that. Thank you for the reminder.
No problem.
That was just in a solar array, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Now including that information with every application that is picked up. Speaking of that, we have another solar farm that's being presented on Robinson Road.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept,
Thank you for jumping in. I was going to ask for that motion. Thank you.
that we accept the bylaw change as presented.
There is a second.
A second.
Okay, roll call vote. John Howcroft, yes.
Pam Labonte, yes.
Mike, yes.
Mark, no.
Yeah, just to save my scalp, I'll say yes.
Julie, yes.
Am I missing? Did you vote?
Yes.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Bylaw definition passes by what's it, 4-1, Pam?
No, technically it's 4. It passed unanimously. As the actual members of the committee are yourself, myself, Jim, and Mike. Julie and Mark, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We don't count. Thanks, Pam. That's
Of
okay.
course you do. Of course you do. That's why you were asked to be part of this.
Julie might have seconded that motion, Pam.
I did.
Oh, she did. Oh, I didn't. Okay.
But don't let the minutes reveal that, just in case of an appeal.
So technically it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
And that's all I have, folks.
So Mark, this does mean that you're going to have a hearing on 6 articles.
I have to have a hearing.
Well, the planning board has to have a hearing.
Any
Before
other?
town meeting? Before town meeting?
Yes, before town meeting.
We'll set that up. Did we do that one for Merrily, that groundwater overlay district?
No, that one was scrapped by the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, good. I just crossed it out. Fine. We'll get together on that. We'll have to put it together. That also has to be a public hearing
Yes,
in the paper 2 weeks in a row.
yes.
Okay. I don't think there's anything else.
Mm-mm.
Is there anything else?
Not me.
Well, I want to thank, it's been a pleasure to hear a high degree of expertise and commitment by members and observers of this committee. So it's been, I would just want to, personally thank people for what I've been experiencing. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved, John.
Okay, I hear a second. Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, roll call vote. John Howcroft, yes.
Pam Labonte, yes.
Mike, yes.
Mark,
Jim, yes.
Okay, I declare this meeting over and adjourned.
Have a good day.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very much.